for round number 9. Going into game 3 between the two players.
Between the 2-player and the Jessup player.
Oh, oh.
I couldn't resist. I make no apologies for myself.
That's a good one. Or rather, yeah, last time we saw Dan, we saw Dan win this matchup, thanks to Monastery Mentor. Oliver will be on the play for game number 3. Starts off on Underground Sea and Deathrite Shaman.
And remember, Oliver is playing the 4-color build without access to Wasteland, so Jessup can just set up with a bunch of Tundras if that's what he wants to do. Something we saw Jessup do earlier in the tournament was cast From the Ashes against one of these 4-color decks, and that was pretty backbreaking.
Absolutely. Sensei Divining Top, so Dan has his own power 1-drop here. Deathrite Shaman will use the land in Dan's graveyard to cast Night's Whisper. 2 down to 18. This is card, surprise, it seems to be pretty stock as a 1-of. Right now, which is a really strange card. You just have to be like, oh yeah, this deck plays 1. You know, just.
Well, it's really solid here because 2 got to lead on a 1-drop, cast a draw spell on turn 2, and just left up Spell Snare for that turn cycle.
Yeah, so a possible counterbalance on Dan Jessup wouldn't have worked. Ponder from Oliver. Sees Deathrite Shaman, a Red Blast. One other. He'll go ahead and draw to the Red Blast. Right now, there's not a mana up. Okay, he'll go ahead and play a fetch land for the turn, so his Deathrite Shaman is still online. And fetches for Badlands. So 3-color setup. Oliver, basic island, blue-black, and red-black for dual lands. Still does not have natural green mana without the Deathrite Shaman's help. That's going to be Baleful Strix from 2. One thing I like about the 4-color controller, just this incremental advantage that Oliver gets to put on the board. It's very free for him just to commit these creatures out.
And something that's exactly what's really nice about this setup is if you get a bunch of creatures on the battlefield, Miracles can clean you up with a Terminus, but the Baleful Strix has already replaced itself.
Yeah, Terminus is fine here. See Dan spins top, on, draws Swords to Plowshares. He's got Predict, Monastery Mentor, Swords to Plowshares. So Swords away the Deathrite Shaman.
And that currently represents 2's only green mana.
And that works. Oliver up to 18. Remember, Oliver doesn't have the, I guess, yeah, he had to choose between red and green mana on that last turn. Chose red. That certainly makes sense. Plays a fetch land, another Baleful Strix. Draws. This fetch land, it might be a Bloodstain. What? I believe it can get him his green source.
Expeditions are nice.
Yeah. Yes, it can. We go back over to Jessup. Jace in hand. Cast and know that one's no good on this board. And right now, Oliver seemingly has him covered just with cheap counter magic.
Actually, 2 red elemental blast effects in hand currently.
Yeah, so he has red blasts for Jace's and counterbalances. Yeah, Oliver has a spell snare and 2 red blasts. So it's just be hard for Dan to resolve something meaningful. I guess there's a hole in Oliver's armor where Monastery Mentor could be played here.
Yeah, can't snare that or red blast it.
Yeah, and Dan's just going to go for that. Now it's a 6-card hand for Oliver. Lightning Bolt from Oliver, 2, on the Monastery Mentor. I'm a little, let's see, little surprised that Dan doesn't have a follow-up right now. You know, he cast this onto a board where he may just die to the lightning bolt.
Well, his other stuff just doesn't amount to anything. One of the cards in his holdings is Backup Mentor.
Update here on table 1. The younger brother, Andrew Jessup, the perfect 9-0 with elves. He will be on table 1, leading the tournament when we start tomorrow.
Going to be the lone undefeated player.
We might have a second. We'll confirm on that, but
maybe a legacy undefeated player.
Certainly could have someone who's legacy undefeated. A fetch here for Oliver. He picked up a copy of Leovold, and as he's continued to hit land drops here, he may be able to commit Leovold into this board, and that's going to happen. Now this will be pressure on Dan Jessup to find a Terminus.
Jessup does have our Pyroblast in his hand.
Okay, so he's going to fight on the stack against Leovold.
Yeah, Leovold's a scary one to have a maybe answer to. Fighting over it when you have a tool that you force your opponent to have a counter spell, it just makes sense.
Red Blast on Leovold from Jessup. Flusterstorm back from 2, so Leovold resolves. Jessup will spin top. Can Force of Will, Swords to Plowshares, Sensei's Divining Top are the top 3. So no sweeper, no Terminus. He could get swords for Leovold. It certainly hurts to make that play.
He also has a predict, so he can get rid of one of these and draw 2 cards.
Well, be careful. Oliver has left up a red mana, and he does have another blast.
Losing the predict to blast is better than losing, say, that Jace the Mind Sculptor to blast.
Oh, also if Leovold's in play, I'm not sure I want to cast predict anymore.
Yeah, he has to make the swords happen first.
Yeah, okay, so he does do that. Leovold's exiled, Oliver draws. And now Jessup will go for predict. Oliver has 2 red blasts. I'm wondering if he's going to fight over this, or are they just going to let it happen?
Draw 2 is one of those windows, especially when you have 2 red blasts, that it's really hard to just pass on.
And he doesn't, so blasts away the predict. Still has 1 left over for the Jace, and Oliver continues to hit Jessup down to 12.
And Oliver's deck also just has 3 Snapcaster Mage, so getting access back for that red blast is not terribly difficult.
Snapcaster Mage main phase from 2. Going to cast it on Knight's Whisper, going down to 18, drawing 2 more. Draws Invasive Surgery and Jace, fetch land played, and then a go. So now the Terminus, not even an answer. Monastery Mentor, though, from Jessup. Second one in his hand. He's going to go cast Sensei's Divining Top, trigger Mentor, says go. Right now, because he's used the Snapcaster, Oliver doesn't in hand have a way to kill the Mentor, though he's going to have this uncontested Jace and draws a Leovold here. I'm not really concerned.
Yeah, the Jace definitely buys him a lot of time.
Dan's running far behind on cards, so he's going to need this Mentor to catch him up. He needs to stop trying to fight the more cards in hand fight. I think Dan Jessup's already lost that one.
Well, Jessup's hand just doesn't do much else is the problem.
Yeah, Jace unsummons the Monastery Mentor. And 2 is going to decide whether or not, how many blockers he wants to leave back here. Just swings 1 Strix, puts Jessup down to 11, says go. Still sitting on a red blast. Monastery Mentor from Jessup. There's a Force of Will now in Jessup's hand. It's going to use Divining Top to draw a card. Puts top on top of the deck, draws another Force of Will. Do it again. Draws Divining Top, and he'll cast Divining Top. Prowess trigger from Mentor, makes another Monk. And Oliver actually can't interact with this very well. He can keep on summoning it. But Dan is profiting here.
Though Oliver getting that Leovold down makes it so Dan can't just trade up the tops.
Right, they wouldn't draw cards anymore.
Card is just
Card's really good.
Messed up 7 different ways. There's 2 lines of text. It's just messed up in so many ways.
Jace will brainstorm from Oliver, not unsummoning anymore.
Yeah.
And look at this hand he has. A Red Blast, a Flusterstorm, a Leovold. It just seems hard that with this many cards in play that Oliver won't be able to find a way to win.
Yeah, just a lot of cards in hand. Most of them are very good.
Force of Will pitching Jace from Jessup. Takes one to... He don't think he made a Monk token. Definitely didn't make a Monk token.
It's the second Monk.
Yeah,
Dan
Dan
has
Smith.
missed
That
on
one.
camera.
That one. This is the last one.
This
didn't
is a
matter.
much more
this
important
one,
Monk.
Last one, he was casting a card that blew up all his opponent's lands and missed the trigger. This one.
Yeah, this one's a lot different.
He needs it here. Flusterstorm hits the Force of Will anyway. Deathrite Shaman from Oliver. And he's just burying Dan in cards right now.
Even if Dan presents a Terminus here, just bins his Monastery Mentor.
Yeah, it's fine. Spins top, we see another top, a counter spell, and a land.
This is not a good spot for counterspell.
Cast Sensei's Divining Top. He's going to try to do the double Divining Top combo here. Kind of his only play. And Oliver doesn't have a great answer to it yet, except that there's Leovold, right? No, he can't do it.
Preventively has that very covered.
Leovold does everything. He's dumb.
It's just like not even close to reasonable. Why did they print this card?
Well, I think if it just had the ability of player of the draw ability,
They can remove a lot of power from this card, and he would still be totally playable.
And even if I drew a card and you targeted Leovold, that would make sense. The part that gets me is when you draw cards, when I should import you, you draw a card. That's where I lose it. It's like, wait, that didn't need to happen. If it was just Leovold protecting himself and the card draw thing, we'd still play it.
Oh yeah. There's plenty of different micro Leovolds that are very playable. You can slice this card a few different ways, and it's still totally really good.
I mean, if you just took Elf away, then I think it'd be it'd be better. Oliver just drawing a lot of cards.
Just the brainstorm kicker. Just way ahead in casting brainstorm.
Remember I said burying his opponent in cards.
He's just saying, Dan, you can concede anytime you want.
At some point, he's going to have enough cards in his hand that he'll just be able to put them on the table and spread them across all of Dan's permanents, and it'll be like none of them exist. And it won't be that different. Oh, look, he found an Abrupt Decay after only like 8 cards that turn. Mentor dead. So it looks here, if 5 minutes remaining, if Oliver wins this, Oliver will lock for day 2, and for Dan Jessup at 6-2-1, it will be a sweat as to whether or not he will make the cut. Likely no, but it's close actually. And you see just how conservatively Oliver's playing it. Swings just 1 Baleful Strix and says go.
He's too far ahead to allow himself to be cheesed by some Monk tokens. So that conservative attack, there's a lot to like about that.
I mean, every turn that goes on is another Jace activation for Oliver. Don't really see how this is going to backfire.
Even if he gets Terminus, he still has a lot going on. Not to mention that Jessup has dug a lot and not produced that Terminus.
Yeah, at some point, he'll find a counterspell for Terminus as well. So Dan can draw, and then he uses top, but he can't draw a card off top.
Not until Oliver's turn. So we'll at least let you do that. The one thing that Leovold doesn't do.
Oh no, I know, you can't. He also has the Aven Mind Sensor ability. It's just, you can search like the top 4, Ponder and Brainstorm, you say?
Yeah, those are
real good here.
Some nice magic cards.
At least it's legendary. Okay.
That's a relevant drawback.
I mean, we just play 4 otherwise.
Some decks do.
Yeah. I mean, Oliver only plays 2. Vendilion Click from Oliver.
See, it's legendary, so you can Caracas it back to your opponent's hand.
And then they draw a card.
All they get to do is draw a card and
they draw
cast
a card?
it again.
Oh, okay. You can't even Vendilion click him. He'll draw a card if you do that. just can't mess with them. Can't Jace Fate Seal? Nope, draw a card. And Oliver start using his Jace to bounce the Monk tokens. And he's ready to try to end this one. Swings with the team.
Yeah, Jessup down to 6. This is going to force some blocks.
Well, I think he's actually just dead. Draws. Is it Terminus? He can block 2. He takes 4, and then the Death Ray finishes him off.
Yep.
So put Snapcaster Mage into play. No, says Oliver, and that's going to be the match. So 7-2, Oliver 2 will make it into day 2 here, winning over Dan Jessup. For Dan Jessup, starting off 6-0-1, a pair of losses at the end has put his tournament life in jeopardy. He's going to have to wait on the standings here to see whether or not he makes it.